welcome. My name is Mark, and man, I don't know about you guys, but singing these hymns, welcome to the Grove, Christmas time, man. I got to admit, this is just recently, I've had this thought a lot, and this is just personal. Man, I love my church. I just love it. And again, I don't mean the building. I mean, it's the church is the people, right? And there are just some incredible people in this room. And, we had the Grove staff and elders Christmas party this past Friday. And every year I'm like, man, I just love these people. This is just fun. We start talking about Christmas, and, instead of your normal Christmas message, we were talking about Leviticus last week. Right, we're talking about somehow Christmas, and we've got animals getting killed and blood being splattered all over the place, and that welcome to the Grove at Christmas time, man. I mean, you just gotta love it that we don't do things normally. In fact, I've got this new term I've been dropping a lot lately. Like, we're gonna do something, and then I've decided we're just gonna say, well, we gotta Grovitize that a bit. We gotta do what we do to that thing. And when we start talking about Christmas messages in December, I don't know if it was last year or year before, we were taking these different Christmas songs and we were breaking them down. And I don't know if that was rich for you guys, but it was huge for me. And now, like that song we just sang, that was the one that I worked on a lot. And it will never be the same for me. It makes me think about those lyrics and what they mean at a deeper level than I ever did before. And it's just cool. It's just new insight, just kind of coming at it a different way. And so here we are rolling through this December, and instead of talking about those passages that you would normally talk about, we've Grovitized it a bit. And we're talking about these passages that are much earlier in the Scriptures that are painting this picture and this foreshadowing of the event that we celebrate. And a lot of these, some of these you may be familiar with, some you may not be. Leviticus. This morning, we're talking about Genesis chapter 2 and 3. I mean, we're talking the earliest possible moment. And already we have this foreshadowing of what's to come. Which to me, if we didn't talk about anything else, I could cut this really short this morning. I mean, it's just incredible that right at the fall, when sin first enters the picture, God meets it with his mercy and the promise of his redemption. That foreshadowing. Just to kind of set the scene for that, foreshadowing, I know everybody took, 7th grade English, but foreshadowing, I think the official definition, I've got it here, a warning or indication of this future event that's coming. And I love that. I love stories, so I love the way in stories foreshadowing will be used to kind of paint the picture of what's to come. I love it in films. One of the best directors that does this, anybody know who it is? M. Night Shyamalan. He's got several films where he uses this idea of foreshadowing, and you don't see it coming, and then all of a sudden it hits, and you're just amazed. Oh yeah, I should have seen all of those glimpses before, and now here it is. One of the earliest films, and the one that's probably the most well known, The Sixth Sense. Right? Everybody seen The Sixth Sense? If you haven't seen The Sixth Sense, 1999. So I hope I'm not going to spoil it for anybody, but you've got this child psychologist, and he's trying to help this kid who's got this problem. He says he sees dead people. And you go through the whole film, and you're really feeling for this kid, and you're kind of caught up in the story. And I don't know, maybe you're a lot better than I. Maybe you caught all the clues ahead of time, but I totally missed them. And so then you get down to the end of the movie, and all of a sudden it clicks, and you realize, and they do this incredible job of then real quick these different scenes and pictures, and you're like, oh yeah, I should have seen all these things, and I missed them all, and now, oh yeah, he's dead. All along, Bruce Willis was dead, and I thought he was alive, but he's not. He was dead. How did I miss that? I've actually got this one scene I'm going to show you, and it's early in the film, right in the beginning of the relationship between Malcolm, the child psychologist, and Cole, the little kid. And I saw an interview with M. Night Shyamalan where he says, we debated on this scene because it wasn't cryptic. It was too straightforward. I mean, it tells you what's happening and gives the whole thing away. And so he said, I don't think we should do this because everybody's just going to leave the movie like, oh, already, it's over. It's done. The whole point's ruined because it's too straightforward. And so he was amazed when they released it with this scene and nobody caught it. So watch this real quick. All right. But listen to what he says. If you think about it for a second, here he is. He's looking at him. He says, "I see dead people. They're not in grave. No, they're walking around like regular people, like you are right now, Bruce Willis. They don't see each other. They only see what they want to see. They don't know that they're dead. And all the time, even at this very moment, while I'm sitting here talking to you. I mean, it's laid out for us, and we missed it. And I think that's what's happened with a lot of these passages that we're going to go through this December. They're like, it was screaming at you. It was yelling, hey, this is what's coming, and we missed it. And so again, here we are. We're in Genesis chapter 2. And there is this, and I mean, how many of us, went to Vacation Bible School and got this story, right? I mean, if you didn't get many stories, you got the Adam and Eve story. And the big point that's really going to come out today is the fact that they're naked, right? And so that's the story we all remember, is the awkward moment at Vacation Bible School with the flannel graph, right? And so you got this story, but I missed it, that in this very story, God paints this picture of what's to come. So let's start out here, Genesis chapter 2, verse 16 and 17. And this is, the woman has not been created yet, just the man. And God comes to the man and he says, you are free. You are free to eat from any tree in the garden, but you must not eat from the tree of the knowledge of good and evil, for when you eat of it, you will certainly die. Now, the reason I kind of emphasize the free is because some of the things we're going to see today is just true of human nature, and it's true, I think, of you and of me, and of the way sin enters our story, and the way that we let it come in, and some of the misconceptions we have, and that the enemy tells us about who God is and how he works. And this first one is, when you read that command of God, it sounds, you hear blah, 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 you can't eat of the tree. And we miss you are free to eat of any, because we get so caught up in the but there's one that's forbidden. Isn't that crazy about us? We want that thing that's forbidden and miss all the wonderful, beautiful freedom that we have right here because of that one thing. I over time spent some time in airports, and it's one of the things that I noticed there is, when you see those airport lounges. Has anybody ever felt this? You walk by, they always do this incredible job of frosting those windows over, and the door's so inviting. And, there's always some people back behind this desk, and they're like inviting you in, and people walk in, and you're like, man, what's back there? got to be something good back there, because it just looks like if you're really cool, you get to go, but you know that you can't because I don't have that special thing. So, man, but wonder what's back there. So one time I was on this trip, my boss and I, and we missed dinner that night, and we had to rush to the airport, and we got all the way to the gate, and we just assumed there would be a restaurant there, but we got to the gate, and there wasn't. There was just, you could just pick up granola bars at the snack shop, but there was a lounge. But we didn't have access to the lounge. But we walked around for a minute, and we decided, what, let's just ask, what does it cost to get into that lounge? Because our assumption is behind that frosted glass and that cool door and those people and that wall that there was this, 5-course meal. It was just going to be this incredible thing. So we go in, and they say it's $50 a person to get in. To which I said, and we walked out, and I said, man, whatever. I'm not paying $50 to go in. But we walked around for a minute, and he looked at the granola bar selection and decided, you know what? He said, come on, let's go. I'm gonna pay for us both. All right. So we walk in, and he pays the $100, and we walk around the little wall, and there is cheese and crackers and like the snack mix and water. And I thought, well, that's a good appetizer. And now we're going to walk around, and we walked around the corner, and we seriously walked around the whole place like looking, where's the food? And there wasn't any. And I looked straight at this dude, and I was like, man, no shame in my game. Let's go get our money back. And he said, no, I can't do that. I can't do it. So we're just going to have to eat our fill of cheese and crackers, I feel like an idiot. But I learned that day that thing, it was that draw of what's behind that glass? What's so special that's back there? I kind of wish I'd never found out that behind there wasn't really anything special, because now it's like the whole thing is gone. There's not really anything all that special back there. There's something about that. And so when we see this command to Adam, you're free to have anything, but not this tree. Don't take from this tree, or you'll surely die. So then God creates the woman, and it says in verse 24, that is why a man leaves his father and mother and is united with his wife, and they become one flesh. Adam and his wife were both naked, and they felt no shame. Now, in getting ready for today, this is one of the things I really picked up, is that nakedness is this huge part of the story. It's not just kind of the awkward part of Vacation Bible School. I mean, it's a big part of what this whole thing, what happens here. Because you've got them, they're naked and unashamed, and then after the fall, now they feel shame over that's the immediate thing. They feel this shame over their nakedness. Now, we've got a little 4-year-old boy and a little 4-year-old girl in our house. And Jack and Darcy, I can probably count on one hand the number of times that they have bathed alone. It's just the way you do. You take care of things to get ready for bed at night in our house is you got these two in the bathtub together, right? And, for the most part, in their innocence, there hasn't even been any recognition that I'm a boy and you're a girl and you're a girl and I'm a boy. It has, now there's been a few awkward moments where they noticed that they had different equipment, but it was, most of that is pretty funny when it happens. But most of the time, it's just, they're just there, and in their innocence, they're naked. Now there is going to be a point, right? They're not going to be 17 showering together. There comes a point where that's not cool anymore, where that innocence is lost. But there's something beautiful right now that innocence is there. And it's hard for us to even imagine because, what's one of the first nightmares that you have is, you picture yourself, you're going to school, and then you realize you're naked and how ashamed and afraid you are that could possibly happen. And here we have Adam and Eve. And a huge part that we have to recognize, they are naked and they feel no shame. So this whole idea of the knowledge of good and evil, they are free of the knowledge of evil. And fear and shame are not a part of their story. God has protected them from this experience that they don't have. It's beautiful. But you know what happens in chapter 3, verse 1. The serpent was more crafty than any of the wild animals the Lord God had made. And he said to woman, did God really say you must not eat from any tree in the garden? Now, first of all, this serpent, we always picture the snake, but after the fall, one of the penalties is that the serpent loses its legs and has to be on its belly. So these are just interesting facts to me. So evidently, this serpent had some legs. It was counted among the beasts of the field, the wild animals. And something else that I just think's wacky. If I was going to tell a story right now and I was saying, hey, I was camping the other day, we went for this hike, and there was a snake, and the snake said to me, and I told you about the conversation that I had with the snake on my hike, you would go, what? But we read this story and we don't go, what? Does Eve not think it's a little bit strange that this snake starts talking to her? Okay, that has no point other than I just think that's weird. So the snake talks to her, and she doesn't go, what? But she just, talks back. So, and this is what the serpent says. He says, did God really say? He starts to question, can this God be trusted? And is he really this unreasonable? Did he really say that you can't eat from any tree in the garden? No. Did he really say that? Any tree? He just said one tree, right? Just that one tree. He said, no, we can eat of all of it, just not that one. So this is what the enemy does. He comes into your life, and it's one click off. The worst lies are the ones that are closest to the truth. And that's what this is. There is a tree we can't eat from, but any is not true. And that statement and that question that he puts into the mind of Eve, is he that unreasonable? And she answers him in verse 2. The woman said to the serpent, no, we may eat from the trees in the garden, but God did say you must not eat fruit of the tree that is in the middle of the garden, and you must not touch it or you will die. Now, is that true? Did God say you must not touch it? Or did he just say you can't eat from the tree in the middle of the garden? Now, one thing I think is really interesting here is that the command, remember what I said, was given to Adam, and Eve had not been created yet. So who communicated this command to Eve? Adam. And we all know about the communication between husband and wife, right? Of course, it was crystal clear. Now the enemy comes to her, and as she begins to say it, now I wonder if she goes that extra step because now she's questioning and she's acting like God is a fuddy-duddy, or if when Adam said it, he went ahead and put the extra, don't even touch the tree, just to make sure that she kept her distance from it. If we even touch it, we're going to be in trouble. This is also what we do with the commands of God. God may say, hey, this thing is not bad in moderation, but it's bad in excess. But what we'll do is we'll take that, and this is the reason, church and followers of Jesus sometimes get a really bad rap, because instead of doing what God says, we'll say, well, if a lot's bad and a little bit's okay, then none is even better. And so we'll say, instead of you can get close to it, you can touch it, you just don't eat of it, we'll just go ahead and say, you can't even touch it, which is not what God said. Terry had this really interesting, this has been 10 years ago, but she was talking to these girls who were all really passionate about wanting to follow Christ. And they were all newlyweds. And this is just crazy to me. I still, even when I was thinking about it for today, I was like, man, I just can't even believe this happened. But these girls were saying, man, we really, in our relationship, we really sought purity with our husbands all the way through the dating process. And now we're married, and we assume, and have made this decision together, kind of this pact, that if it pleased God for us to be pure until our wedding day, then it would make him even more happy for us to wait to consummate the marriage until a year later. Terry, she said, "What? What are y'all talking about?" But that's where this goes. Well, if that's bad, then let's just go ahead and add more than what God says. We don't need to add more than what God says. God said you can be in the tree, you can have any fruit, but just don't eat it. Don't eat it. So now Eve has begun to take this lie and has gone another step. And then in verse 4, the serpent says, "You will not certainly die." Now he's just straight out calling God a liar. No, you're not going to die. He said, this is what's going to happen. God knows that when you eat, your eyes will be opened, now knowing good and evil. And so what God's trying to keep you in the dark. He's a liar, and he's trying to keep you down. He doesn't want you to be like him, so he's trying to keep you away. So now he has thrown every possible question that she could have about the goodness of her God. Has been put on display. So, in verse 6, now the woman saw that the fruit of the tree was good for food and pleasing to the eye and desirable for gaining wisdom. So she took and ate. And she also gave to her husband who was with her. This dude's been there all along. He's been standing right there. At any point, he could have said, no, that's not what God said. Don't you remember, girl? I told you. At any moment, he could have said to the snake, shut up, go on, we don't need you. At any moment, he could have spoken up, and he sat there in silence and let the whole thing go down, fellas. What a coward. We're just like him. We communicate horribly to our wives, and then we just stand by and don't stand up, man. This picture of these two together, sin against God. And then what happens? 3 verse 7, the eyes of both of them were opened. And now what did they realize? What was immediate? Oh man, we're naked. Whew. Now they realize it. And what do? They sew fig leaves together to make covering for themselves. They try to put makeup on it. They try to cover it up with the things that they made, that by their own hands, by their own power, they try to make a covering that is not sufficient, that doesn't do the job. Which, by the way, is what all religion is. We know we have a sin problem. We feel the separation from God, and then we try to do a lot of good stuff to cover all of our sin up. But it's insufficient. There's a death, like Charlie was talking about last week. There's a sacrifice that has to be made. There's a death, a penalty that has to be paid. And our good works don't do anything to help that. We need something bigger than that. We need God to come and make it possible for us to be made right, because we can't do it on our own. And their first attempt with these little fig leaves is a joke. It doesn't do the job. And so then God comes and he gives all of the penalties to the snake and to the woman and to the man. And we don't have time today to go through all of those different things. But in verse 7, he says, then the eyes of both of them were open. They realized they were naked. Sorry. Verse 9. But the Lord God called to man and said, where are you? He answered, I heard you in the garden. I was afraid because I was naked. So I hid. And so God is in the garden with them. They're hiding because they're afraid. And he says to them, who told you you were naked? And then in verse 12, the man said, the woman you put here with me. So the woman did it, and furthermore, you did it because you're the one that put her here. Blame. Then she gave me the fruit from the tree, and I ate it. And the Lord God said to the woman, what is this you have done? And the woman said, the serpent deceived me. It's the serpent's fault. then in these condemnations against them, in verse 15, God says, I will put enmity between you and the woman. This is to the serpent. Between your offspring and hers. He will crush your head, and you will strike his heel. I will put this tension between the two of you. Between your offspring, talking to the serpent, and hers. Who's the offspring of the serpent? Who are the children of the devil? You're not going to like the answer. We are. In fact, in 1 John chapter 3, it says, anyone who doesn't do what is right, anyone who chooses this path of sin, those are the children of the devil, the offspring of the evil one, the ones who have followed this lie and have turned our backs on God. Who's the offspring of her? It says he, somebody specific. The enemy, you will strike his heel, but he will crush your head. You will cause a blow, but he will bring the death blow. This is the first picture of the gospel. This is the first picture of the Christmas day that's coming. The one that's of her, not of them both, because the virgin-born Son of God, who will be struck, but will in turn, in that very moment, bring the death blow upon the evil one. Is that not crazy? I mean, we're talking moments after the fall. This incredible God comes to them in mercy and in this promise of the redemption that's coming. Moments after. I mean, you would think that he would just smite them and wipe the whole thing clean and start over. But no, that's not the God that created them. This God is so full of love that in that moment, he's already making the promise. And then a little bit later in verse 21, it says that the Lord God made garments of skin for Adam and his wife and clothed them. He had to sacrifice an animal, the first animal that's killed, and take that skin and clothe them appropriately because now blood has been shed and there's been a sacrifice. Another picture of this Messiah that's coming. Moments after the fall, y'all. Is that not crazy? Week before last, I got to go to Thailand and be with a lot of Grovers who are living in India that came out of India, and they were in Thailand for a time of training and encouragement, and I got to be with these folks. In fact, I've got a picture for you here. I tried to bring out, there were about 80, 90 in that training, but I put some arrows there so you could see all the Grovers. And I bring good news back from them. They're doing really well, and they love you guys a lot. And you know, as I was coming back, I was thinking about them. You know, at this deal, they had some Christmas decorations and some things like that, and they played some Christmas music. And I was jumping on that plane to come back. It was like 4 days of travel for 3 days to be with them, and it was really hard and fast. And I, on the way back, I was just excited to get back to be back here for December, and thinking about what it was going to be like to be with my family over this month. And then I realized, oh yeah, they're not coming back to be with their family this month. You know, they're going back to their home that's 8,000 miles from their family, and in a place that Christmas isn't really celebrated. And there's none of those reminders or music playing. You know, it's whatever kind of tree they can piece together and, you know, kind of build that feeling in their own homes. And you know, I thought to myself, you know, it's really sad. I mean, we lived overseas for a while, and I know that that's just this is a hard time. And that's a really hard thing that they're going to do. And you know, in a lot of ways, it just doesn't make any sense. It's just hard. If it's not true. If this thing's not true, if Christmas isn't this incredible declaration revelation of a God who would do this, then the sacrifice that they're making doesn't make any sense at all. It's foolish. But if it is true that at the moment of our sin, this God meets it with his mercy and grace, and he provides the appropriate sacrifice, and that the virgin-born Son of God is the Messiah who can set them free, and there are parts of the world that don't know that, then the only appropriate way to celebrate Christmas is to proclaim that, right? I realized when I thought about that no, these friends are celebrating Christmas in a way that some of us will never know, to proclaim this good news, in a place that desperately needs to hear it. And so I don't know if you spot the foreshadowing when you studied the Adam and Eve story as you were growing up. I don't know if you ever realized that even that early he was painting that picture of what was to come. But as we go through this month, and if you really start to study it on your own, you'll find out that it's just again and again and again and again these pictures painting for us this anticipation of the one that would set us free. And so if you do anything today, in these next few moments as we sing these songs, if you do anything this month, please let your praise and your worship and your recognition of your brokenness and of how incredible this God is, that he would meet you there and make the sacrifice that only he could. In the striking of the heel, that he would crush the enemy's head. I love that. Let me pray for us. Father, I ask you that you would give us a new clarity, a new appreciation, a new passion for this plan, that it wasn't like you got caught off guard and then made some plan on the fly, plan B, but that you were meeting us in our most desperate and ugly moment. You were meeting us with all of your beauty and your plan and your power. And so, Father, I pray that we would give you our worship and praise as the only one that can set us free, the only one that could protect us from the things that we need not know or experience, so that we could walk in the relationship with you that Adam and Eve have before this, that sweet communion. So, Father, thank you for that privilege, and I pray that we would experience